My name is Julia. I'm 46, and if I sound like I'm holding my breath while I say this, it's because I probably have been for years now. I don't know how to start this without sounding like I'm blaming him. I'm not. I really want that to be clear. Ethan is a good man. A steady one. He makes the bed every morning. He tops off my gas tank without asking. He remembers my mother's birthday even when I don't. But there's this ache inside me now, this quiet, constant ache I don't know how to explain without sounding ungrateful. There was a time I'd feel his hand on the small of my back and shiver in the best way. A time when his kiss could make me feel drunk, when a look from across the room meant more than words ever could. We used to laugh in bed, laugh and talk and touch like we'd just discovered each other. There was a rhythm, a softness, a heat. But over time, everything changed in ways I didn't even notice at first. Like erosion. Silent and slow. The kisses got shorter. The hugs more routine. He touches me, yes. But it's often just a passing squeeze on my hip in the kitchen, a distracted pat on my thigh in bed. It's not bad. It's just not enough. And the worst part is that I'm not even sure when I stopped wanting it, or when it started feeling like an obligation instead of an invitation. The other night, he leaned in to kiss me, just a goodnight kiss, nothing more, and it felt off. Like he missed. I don't mean physically, I mean emotionally. His lips were warm, yes, but they didn't feel there. Not for me. And I smiled anyway, because that's what you do after 19 years, right? You smile. You keep the machine running. I remember last Sunday, after dinner, I was loading the dishwasher, and he came up behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist. It should have been sweet. But something about the way he held me felt tight, like he wanted me to react a certain way, laugh, lean back, kiss his cheek. Perform love. Instead, I stiffened. And he let go. He didn't ask why. And I didn't offer anything. I crawled into bed that night wondering how we got here, me facing the wall, him checking his email with the screen brightness turned down, like even light would be too much for us now. Sometimes I fantasize about what it would feel like if he really saw me again. If he looked at me with the eyes he used to have, hungry, tender, curious. Not distracted. Not tired. Not assuming I'll always be there. I'm not blameless in this, I know. I pull away too much now. I smile less. I make excuses when he reaches for me. There are times I want him, and I just can't. Like my body forgot how to say yes. But that night, the night we were alone, something cracked open. Not in a dramatic way. No violins or storms outside. Just a quiet room, no kids, no television. Just him and me. And the silence. He reached for me again. Gently this time. No agenda in his eyes. Just presence. And for once, I didn't flinch. I didn't smile and retreat or pretend to be tired. I just looked back at him. And in that second, God, it hit me. How long I'd been starving for that kind of attention. The real kind. The kind where someone sees you seeing them. That moment didn't come with fireworks. It came with breath. A stillness. I don't know if it was the wine, or the quiet, or just the way the moonlight fell across our kitchen floor, but I couldn't hold back anymore. Not the ache, not the longing, not the part of me that had been waiting for him to come back to me. And I don't mean physically. I mean really come back. That was the moment I knew something had changed. In me. In us. And we couldn't keep pretending we hadn't both noticed. It's strange how you can share a bed with someone for years and still feel like a stranger when you wake up next to them. That morning after the quiet night, the one where I finally let myself lean into his touch, I thought maybe something had shifted. Ethan smiled at me sleepily, brushed my hair back, and kissed my shoulder. There was something tender in the way he pulled me close. No pressure. No expectation. Just warmth. But by the time I got out of the shower, the spell had already broken. He laid my coffee mug on the counter, just like always, filled halfway with almond milk the way I like it, waiting for the coffee to brew. It should have felt loving, familiar. But somehow it made me feel small, like we were back to the routine. Like the night before had been a ripple in the surface, not a wave that could change the tide. Later that day, I tried to tell him I felt a little off. Not sad exactly. Just far away from myself. Maybe you're not sleeping enough, he said, barely looking up from his tablet. You've been restless lately. I waited for a second. Waited for him to look at me. He didn't. I don't think that's it, I said softly. He reached over, squeezed my knee, and gave me that half smile, the one that says, I hear you, but let's not go deeper. That was Ethan's version of intimacy. Touch first, talk second. Or never. And it wasn't always like this. When we were first dating, he was a man of questions. Curious. Attentive. He'd ask me about my childhood, my fears, what made me laugh until I cried. But over the years, those questions dried up. Now, if he asked how my day was, it was more reflex than desire. Ethan is a physical man. He's a firefighter. Strong, capable, doesn't rattle easy. People count on him, and he's good at being counted on. But when it comes to emotions, especially mine, he's never known what to do unless he can fix something. The next night, I curled up beside him on the couch while he scrolled through something on his phone. I wanted to feel close. I wanted to feel, I don't know, chosen. He slid his hand under my sweatshirt and rubbed slow circles on my back, his fingers inching lower, suggestive. I froze. He noticed. You okay? I nodded too fast. Yeah, just tired. But that wasn't it. I wasn't tired, I was empty. I was craving something I couldn't name. A conversation, maybe. A real one. Not surface level. And the worst part? I hated myself for pulling away. For making him feel rejected when all I really wanted was to be seen. I know what Ethan thinks. He thinks I don't want him anymore. That I'm cold. That I've gone somewhere he can't follow. And I can't blame him. From the outside, it probably looks like I'm just turning him down, night after night, for no reason. But the truth is, I need to feel wanted emotionally before I can be touched. I need to feel safe again before I can feel desire. And Ethan? He doesn't get that. Not because he's cruel, but because he still thinks touch is the answer to everything. He doesn't understand that when I flinch away, it's not rejection, it's a plea. For softness. For presence. For a moment where he looks at me and sees the version of me I don't even show anyone else. We had dinner that night in silence. Forks clinking. Water glasses sweating onto the wood. He reached across the table and slid his hand over mine, and I wanted to cry from the effort of not pulling away. I just sat there. Still. A prisoner inside my own skin. He probably thought I was angry again. Or cold. But it wasn't that. It was grief. Grieving the kind of closeness that can't be bought with back rubs and forehead kisses. Grieving the conversations we used to have before life got loud and we forgot how to be soft with each other. By the time we went to bed, he didn't even try to kiss me. And for some reason, that hurt more than if he had. There's a strange kind of loneliness that settles in when the person you're with still wants you, but in the wrong way. That's where I've been living. In that space between being touched and being understood. The following weekend, Ethan brought home flowers. Yellow tulips, my favorite. He remembered. He even tucked a little note inside the wrapping that read, just because. It should have meant something. It did. But not enough. When he handed them to me, he smiled like he expected it to change everything. Like maybe that small gesture could erase the silence, the tension, the weeks of missed cues and misread touches. I thanked him. Kissed him on the cheek. I even set the flowers in a vase near the kitchen window. But inside, I was miles away. I felt guilty for not feeling more. That night, he made an effort, ran his fingers down my spine while I washed dishes, leaned in close and whispered something playful about heading to bed early. His voice was light, like a suggestion wrapped in hope. But the weight of his touch was too heavy. I stiffened, just slightly. Just enough. He pulled back. Sorry, he said, his tone suddenly clipped. Didn't mean to bother you. You didn't bother me, I whispered. I'm just tired. I wasn't lying. I was tired. But not in the way he thought. I was tired of pretending. Tired of bracing. Tired of him only reaching for me when his hands were involved, instead of his heart. Later, in bed, he tried again. He kissed me slowly, trailing his lips across my shoulder. It was gentle, even sweet. But I felt nothing. My body didn't respond the way it used to. I kissed him back out of habit. But the moment his hand slipped beneath my waistband, something in me recoiled. He didn't see it. Or maybe he did and didn't want to name it. I pulled away, gently but firmly. I can't tonight, I said. I'm sorry. He stared at the ceiling, silent. And then, without a word, he rolled onto his side. I wanted to explain. To tell him it wasn't that I didn't love him. That I wanted to be close, but not like that. Not when there were so many unspoken things between us. I needed more than a kiss. I needed a conversation. A look. A space to be soft without being taken. But I didn't say any of it. I just lay there, staring at the dark, listening to the rhythm of his breathing. This has become a pattern, him reaching, me retreating. Me aching for intimacy, but not the kind that lives in hands or mouths. I wanted him to sit with me in the discomfort. To ask why I pull away, why my laugh's a little more hollow lately, why my body doesn't light up under his anymore. But he doesn't ask. And I can't keep answering questions he's not willing to voice. The other day, he playfully slapped my butt as I walked past. A gesture that used to make me grin. This time, I flinched. Not because it hurt, but because it felt like another language I no longer understood. He noticed. Seriously, he asked, half laughing, half wounded. I can't even touch you now? I didn't know what to say. I wanted to scream, why does everything have to turn into sex? But I didn't. I just stood there, frozen in the hallway, tulips wilting quietly in the window behind me. It happened over chicken. Grilled thighs, rosemary, potatoes, a simple salad, nothing special. Just another Thursday night dinner with plates between us and a silence we'd both gotten good at pretending wasn't there. I don't know what broke me. Maybe it was the way he asked, so, how was your day, with his eyes still on his phone. Or maybe it was the way I answered fine, knowing I didn't mean it and knowing he wouldn't push. He didn't. Just nodded and kept eating, chewing like the food had more flavor than our conversation. And something inside me cracked. I'm not fine, I said. The words slipped out without warning, louder than I meant, sharper than I felt ready for. He looked up slowly. Confused. Chewing stopped. I'm not fine, I repeated, quieter now. And I haven't been for a while. Ethan blinked. Okay, what's going on? That was the thing. I didn't know how to explain it. Not in bullet points. Not in tidy, fixable steps. I couldn't tell him where it started. Only that it had grown, like mold in the corners of a room we forgot to care for. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. You touch me, Ethan, but you don't see me. His brows pulled together. What does that mean? It means I stood up, pacing the kitchen floor. It means I feel like I'm disappearing. Like I'm some object you reach for when you want something, but you don't actually check in with me. Not the real me. Not anymore. He put his fork down. I rub your back. I make dinner. I bring you flowers. I try, Julia. I know, I snapped, and then immediately hated the tone. I know you do. But it's all surface. You touch me, but it doesn't feel connected. It doesn't feel intimate. You don't ask me how I'm doing and actually want the answer. You don't notice when I'm struggling. You try to fix things with sex or chores or tulips. Ethan sat still for a long time. Then he muttered, Jesus. I didn't know you felt this way. I leaned against the counter, arms crossed tight. I didn't want to feel this way. And then, just like that, I started crying. The kind of crying that comes without warning. Shoulders shaking, breath catching, ugly and raw and louder than I wanted it to be. I covered my mouth, embarrassed by the sound of it. Ethan got up, slowly, like he wasn't sure if he should come closer or keep his distance. Jules, I stepped back when he reached for me. I don't want a hug right now, I said. I don't want to be soothed like a child or calmed down like a storm. I just want to be heard. His arms fell to his sides. And I saw it in his eyes, hurt, confusion, maybe a little fear. Not of me, but of what this all meant. We stood there in silence, both of us breathing too loud, too heavy. I didn't know, he said again, softer this time. I thought you just weren't into me anymore. I looked at him then. Really looked. And I saw something I hadn't let myself see in a long time. He wasn't the enemy. He was lost, too. Grasping. Trying. Failing in ways that weren't cruel, just clumsy. I wanted to want you, I whispered. So many nights, Ethan. I'd lie there next to you, praying my body would say yes. But it doesn't work that way for me. I can't feel close to you when I feel so far away. He didn't say anything. He just sat down at the edge of the table, head in his hands. And I stood across from him, chest aching, cheeks wet, heart wide open and exposed for the first time in years. I think that was the worst part, not the argument, not even the tears. It was seeing him fold in on himself like he didn't know how to hold me anymore. Not with hands. Not with words. Not with anything. And realizing I didn't know how to ask him to. After that night, we barely spoke. It wasn't the angry kind of silence, the kind that seethes, slams doors, leaves dishes untouched in the sink. It was quieter than that. Sadder. Like two people drifting apart on a river too slow to notice until the banks disappear. I still made coffee every morning. He still left a kiss on my forehead before work, though lighter now, like he was afraid of touching a bruise. We still sat across from each other at dinner, passed salt, asked about the thermostat or the dog's medicine. But we didn't talk. Not really. The distance between us was no longer invisible. It had shape now. Weight. A shadow stretching through every room. There were nights I lay in bed and watched the rise and fall of his breath, wondering if he missed me. Not the woman he married. Me. The version of me who used to hum while she folded laundry, who used to crawl into his lap with wine and stories after the kids fell asleep. Did he miss her? Or had he learned to live without her, the way I had learned to live without being seen? Once I walked into the living room and found him sitting in the dark, just staring out the window, his phone untouched beside him. "Everything okay?" I asked. He nodded. "Yeah, just tired." Same words I'd used so many times. I wanted to go to him. I really did. But I froze, my feet planted in the doorway, heart thudding with hesitation. How do you reach for someone you no longer know how to hold? In those days, I found myself missing him, not just physically, but emotionally. I missed the way he used to laugh with his whole body, the way his eyes would light up when he'd talk about a fire he helped put out, or how he'd come home with soot on his neck and collapse into me like I was his soft place to land. I missed being that for him, but I didn't know how to get back there, or if he even wanted me to. There was one night, maybe 2 weeks after our argument, I walked into our bedroom and saw him sitting on the edge of the bed, elbows on his knees, head bowed. His shoulders looked smaller somehow, like he was carrying something I couldn't see. I sat beside him. Quietly. "After a while," he said, "I didn't know I'd made you feel so alone." My throat tightened. I didn't know either. Until I couldn't hide it anymore. He didn't reach for my hand. I didn't reach for his. We just sat in the quiet, like two people realizing the house they built together might be missing windows, rooms with no light, no air. That night, I watched him fall asleep first. His back to me. Breathing steady. I wanted to touch him. Just place my palm gently on his back, let him know I was still here. But something held me back. Not bitterness. Not pride. Just the overwhelming fear that maybe it was too late. And yet, I wasn't ready to walk away. Not yet. Even if the warmth had faded. Even if the laughter was gone. Because deep down, a small part of me still believed we could find our way back. That love wasn't always loud or pretty, that sometimes it was the choice to stay in the silence and try again tomorrow. It didn't happen all at once. There was no grand gesture, no tearful breakthrough with background music swelling behind us. Just a quiet Tuesday evening, a warm breeze slipping through the window, and two people sitting at opposite ends of the couch, closer than they'd been in weeks, but still unsure of how to begin again. Ethan was the one who broke the silence. "I've been reading," he said, barely above a whisper. "Stuff about emotional intimacy, about how people connect differently. I didn't know how much I wasn't giving you." I turned to him, heart caught between softening and staying guarded. "Why now?" He looked down at his hands. "Because I miss you. And because I don't want to keep loving you wrong. My chest tightened. He wasn't perfect, and I hadn't been either. But hearing him say those words, not as an apology, not as a performance, but as a quiet offering, made something inside me shift. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like I had to translate myself. He was trying to speak my language. So I told him everything. That I needed more than his touch. That I missed being asked about things that mattered. That I'd been starving for connection, not sex, but closeness. Words. Curiosity. Softness without expectation. He didn't interrupt. He didn't defend himself. He just listened. When I finished, we sat in the quiet again. This time, it didn't feel heavy. It felt like breathing. He reached for my hand, not urgently, not as a gateway to something else. Just a hand in mine. Warm. Still. We didn't fix everything that night. But we didn't look away either. Later, when we climbed into bed, he didn't try to touch me. Instead, he whispered, "I'll be here when you're ready. Not just for your body, Jules. For all of you." And for the first time in a long while, I pulled him close. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. If you're still listening, thank you. It feels strange, saying all this out loud. Letting the cracks show. But I think that's the thing about relationships, real ones. They're not built on perfect days or candlelit moments. They're built in the quiet, uncomfortable spaces where you don't always know what to say or how to be touched or what version of yourself your partner still sees. There was a moment, not that long ago, where I thought I'd lost him. Not because he left, but because he stopped looking for me. And I'd stopped inviting him in. I kept telling myself I was just tired, that life gets like this after almost 2 decades. That maybe love shifts into something quieter. Something practical. Safe. But what I didn't realize until that night, the night we were finally alone, and I couldn't hold back anymore, was that love shouldn't leave you feeling invisible. I needed more. And I had been too afraid to say it. Not because Ethan was unkind, but because I didn't want to hurt him with the truth. And isn't that wild? That we avoid the truth, thinking it will protect them, when really it only distances us more. I learned something about myself in all of this. That desire isn't just physical. That being wanted means nothing if you don't feel seen. And that touch, without curiosity, without conversation, without presence, can start to feel like pressure. Like something you owe instead of something you crave. There were so many nights I lay next to Ethan and wondered what was wrong with me. Why I didn't melt under his hands anymore. Why his kisses felt like requests instead of gifts. I'd lie there and rehearse responses, fake soft noises, pretend to fall asleep, because I didn't know how to say, "I need you to know me again." But the moment I stopped pretending, the moment I let the truth spill out, ugly and shaking and too much, that was the moment something changed. He heard me. Really heard me. And I know not every man would have. Some would have grown cold. Some would have turned the blame on me. Some would have made it about their rejection instead of my ache. But Ethan sat there. Silent. Then broken. Then soft. He met me where I was. Not with solutions. With space. And in the weeks that followed, I saw the shift in him. Not in big ways, no speeches or flowers or suddenly becoming someone else. But in little ones. He started asking again. Asking how I was sleeping. What I was thinking about. What I needed. Even if he didn't know how to give it right away. And I started leaning in. Because intimacy isn't just about touch. It's about paying attention. It's about noticing when someone pulls away and having the courage to ask why. We're still learning each other again. Some days are better than others. Some nights I still flinch. Or he still gets quiet. But now we name it. We talk. We sit in the discomfort without running. And slowly, I'm remembering that I'm not too much. I'm not broken. I'm just human. Hungry for connection. Wired for depth. Worthy of being known. So if you're out there, holding your breath like I was, shrinking in your own home, feeling unseen in your own skin, please don't wait as long as I did to say something. Don't wait until you break to be honest. Because sometimes love doesn't leave. Sometimes it just needs to be woken up. And sometimes the moment you can't hold back anymore is the moment everything begins to heal.